and welcome to the Illinois Association of Park Districts Parkcast. I'm Wayne Utterback, Director of Communications and Digital Content, and today I'm joined by Ty Kovach, Executive Director of the Lake County Forest Preserve District, whose agency won one of our Best Green Practices Awards at this year's IAPD Best of the Best Awards Gala. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to speak with me a little bit, Ty.
Thank you for having me here. We're pretty proud of this award.
Now, before we talk about the award, I was just kind of hoping you could give me a little bit of an overview about how your agency, what is its overarching mission in regards to green initiatives?
Well, I think, first we should just, we should talk about what is the mission of the Forest Preserve. And, what we're authorized to do is pretty clear that we buy land, we protect that land in perpetuity. We try to restore it as close as possible to its natural state. Well, that's a bit of a moving target because we know we are experiencing climate change and things are not the way they were 200 years ago here in terms of climate. And to use that land for the purpose of passive recreation and education. And so, for a long time, we had a pretty clear mission, and that was to actually build a forest preserve because we started in 1958 with a referendum that passed. And I think we did our first land acquisition in 1961, which was Van Patten Woods. It's the northernly most preserve that we have on the Des Plaines River on the Wisconsin border. And so up until about 10 years ago, we were looking at about 50 years into, being a forest preserve. So mission is pretty clear: buy land, restore land, provide public access, put infrastructure on it, get policies and procedures, depth of knowledge in place. And then we stopped and we said, okay, what are we going to do for the next 100 years? And so we put a very long-term strategic plan in place with a vision that is not for the forest preserve, but it's for all the other land out there in Lake County. And so, assuming at some point about 20% of the land in Lake County is protected in some way as open space, our vision is really around what that other 80% of the land will look like, and hoping that the landscape will be functioning at as high as possible level for its use, meaning we want to see those ecosystem services. But more specifically in how we get there, we want to reflect in on our own practices and the example that we set. And so long-term sustainability can mean a couple of things, and one that how do we support ourselves financially on the long term as we possibly add more land and more responsibility to maintain it. But also, what's our sustainable practices? How are we conducting ourselves, and what impact are we having on the landscape just in our daily functions? And so I think that's really what led to us is really taking a hard look at utilization, standardization, and leveraging that business cycle out there. And so in utilization, it's, let's not build anything if we don't need it. And so as we looked at, circling back around at some of our preserves that were developed, quite a while ago, and say, okay, has the use changed on this? And is this really what we need in this place now that, there's other preserves that people can go to? And so we literally, before we do anything in terms of a makeover on, the public access, we don't put vehicle counters out. We actually count the vehicles 3 times a day because you get a more accurate look at, what is that actual use out there. And so we don't want to build infrastructure, parking lots, if it's not utilized. And so we don't want to put that initial investment in there. We don't want to impact that landscape. We don't want to have to, spend energy to, maintain it and at some time replace it again in the future. And also it's around our buildings, and that we looked at our square footage and what do we really need in order to deliver services. And when you buy land, it's pretty common that you get some buildings along with that. And so we try to remove those those structures as quick as possible and restore those sites. But it's about the new buildings that we're putting up and any major investment that we make, and that's where we got to our net zero. buildings, and we have 4 of those now that have either been completed, under construction, or they're funded and we're ready to go into the the engineering pre-engineering phase of that. And so we just completed the Ryerson Education Building. We raised about 2/3 of the money for that, so we didn't use district dollars for a good portion of that. We raised the dollars for that. And so we have a new grounds maintenance building that's under construction right now that'll be net zero. We just made the final addition to one of our welcome centers our welcome center at Ryerson. And the building was designed for a photovoltaic system, but we didn't have the funding to get it on there. So thanks to a grant and a very generous donor, we were able to complete that. That takes that to net zero. And now in 2024, we're going to be building a golf cart storage building for a countryside golf course that's going to be not only be net zero, but it'll be capable of charging all the electric golf carts as well. So yeah, we're pretty excited about that, and that we've drawn the line in the sand and say anything going forward, this is how we're going to do it.
Now, do you feel a particular responsibility to kind of be a leader in those kind of initiatives because you're part of a preserve? Do you feel like you kind of set the example that you hope that other people follow?
Goes right back to our long range strategic plan. Is right in there. Leadership is one of those strategic directions that we have on the shorter term, the 25-year term. And so, yep, leadership, sustainability is one, leadership's another one, is that we want to step forward and set the example. And especially for this, this Ryerson Education Building, it's not just about being a net zero building, but we want to educate the people as they go into it, not just as students that, will be taking, environmental education classes there, but it's open to anybody. And we want you to go in there and be touched by it in some way and say, oh, okay, this is how this works. And so there's a display area, there's a metric set up right there so you can watch and see how it functions and everything. So yeah, definitely we want to be leaders in this area, and we're doing our best to provide that leadership.
Now, one of the things I remember about in the nomination form for the award is a discussion of retrofitting. And I was wondering how crucial of a component is that to sustainability? Is there some sort of difficulty in trying to mesh newer technologies with like older facilities or older infrastructure? Is that a challenge for you guys, or is that just something that you're used to by now?
It is a challenge. And so starting, taking a net zero building from, scratch, designing and building is much easier. We do, one of the next ones that we're going to actually, 2 of the big ones that we're going to be tackling in the future is we have an operations building, which in itself is a very efficient building. And so it won't take much to make that net zero. So that's basically putting solar panels on it and zeroing that out. Excuse me. That's just a matter of waiting for the right life cycle on the roof, because it's going to go on the roof and we don't want to put it on because we're very close to that life cycle on the roof. So we're going to replace that roof and do do that retrofit. In terms of our general offices, the vision there is that we're going to get rid of our general offices and in our museum, and we're going to move to a different location, and that we will design from scratch as a net zero building. So that'll pretty much take care of our 2 largest facilities. Yeah, we have some other smaller structures out there. A little more difficult, but I think we can get there. We'll do what it takes. These are ground maintenance buildings. There's not a lot of square footage there, and we can work on those and pick those off as the funds are available, or as we're getting to some major maintenance work on them, and we'll take advantage of that.
Now, another thing I recalled about the nomination form was that you have some unique uses of recycling. I think railroad ties were mentioned, industrial boilers were mentioned. Can you maybe just give me a little bit more insight on some of those unique recycling things that you're doing over there?
I think my favorite one to talk about is just like, when we buy land, we end up with buildings on those, and we really look at how we can recycle as much as possible when we get those structures out there. Anywhere from scrap metal to wood to whatever it is. And you can imagine, as a forest preserve, we have a lot of trees that we need to chip, and we reuse all those chips on our wood chip paths. And so just about everything we do, we look for some way to incorporate that. I like to think of one of my a place I was prior to being with the Forest Preserve. It was in the West Indies, and we operated as a very small country within a country under the Act of Parliament in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and the same thing there. Easier to do there because you have control, but there was a point where we said we are going to be 100% make sure that whatever we bring into the country or onto the island it can either be reused or recycled in some way. And we did it. So you can do it if you want to. You just got to be really careful about how you approach and what you're actually buying and what you're getting into.
Now, what would you say makes your agency stand out when it comes to your green energy initiatives? Is there anything that you feel is unique to your agency?
I do, is that, I think it goes back to the leadership piece. Nobody said that you have to do this. There's no resolution that you're going to hit this certain metric. We're just doing it. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do, and we want people to follow us and look at there are other ways to do infrastructure. And so I think that's what makes us unique, is that there's no direction from our board that you're going to hit a certain goal on this. We're just doing it every place that we can. We incorporate it in every way, and I think that's being recognized out there. And when you look at the number of visitors that we have and the number of kids that will be coming, like through our new education center, and the way that's designed, and so that you don't get just to go in there and just use it. You're going to be educated that this is a net zero building, and this is how we got there. So you're coming away with more information about how you do this than when you went into the building. And that's certainly going to be when we do our general offices, is that we're going to design it around that. You will, when you visit at our headquarters, you will come out educated in some way, and something that you can take back and incorporate in your daily life or your business or whatever you're involved in.
Now, mentioning that leadership component, what would you say to an agency that might be doing some things, but they're really trying to get more serious about sustainability? What would you recommend to them in order to kind of get a start on that?
Well, not every, this is sort of a resource thing, but something we've done to take it to the next level, even beyond where we're at right now. All the organizations right now, like ours, are going through the decennial, committee process, where you look at your efficiencies within and we have to report out. We've taken that to the next level, and that what we want to do is we want to benchmark where we're at right now. So a bit counterdictive to what I told you earlier, but we do think that there's some power in saying, okay, here's where we're at right now. Let's find out where we can do better, and then set those goals for us in the future, but making them obtainable. There's nothing more discouraging than setting an aspirational goal out there, but there's no way you're gonna hit it. And so make it so that you can actually hit it. And I do think it's about drawing the line in the sand, and picking the one project that you can be successful on. And that's what we did with our education building. I think that's certainly going to be our flagship example out there, is that, and just stick with it and make it happen.
All right. Well, Ty, I have one more question for you.
Sure.
I just want to know personally to you, what does being green mean just in your life?
Being green is having doing the right thing, and taking the steps that you can as an individual to make sure that what the experiences that we're having with open space and the outdoors and the quality of life is still here, not for our kids, not for our grandchildren, but for our great grandchildren. And that's what it's about to me personally, is that I want to be part of that. I want to be part of that change, and that what have we learned, and how do we ensure that this is all here for future generations. So that's what it means for me. And that's the reason, with my kids, I say, let's only get stuff that's, in reusable containers, and explain to them, let's compost everything that we do. And so you just set that example, whether it be at home or in your business. And I think everybody's looking for leadership on this. And, what better way to provide leadership than from a public organization like the Forest Preserve District. People like to use us. We get a lot of visitors out there. We can touch a lot of people with, positive steps that you can take to make it better for the future.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much, Ty, for taking time out of your day to speak with me. I want to congratulate you on the award for Best Green Practices at our Best of the Best Awards Gala. And I look forward to hearing more about some of the unique and inspiring ways you guys continue to be green and convince other people that, you know, it is not a choice that we have to make, but we really have to start stepping our game up in terms of taking care of the planet that we have.
We're proudly displaying our plaque down in our lobby. So if you ever visit us here, you're going to see it.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you so much, Ty. I appreciate your time.
Okay, thanks, Wayne. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.